We are now the highest powered 48-volt hybrid inverter on the market.
So I understand that you have one of the most, if not the most popular off-grid inverter in the US with the 6000 XP. Now I noticed you have a 12,000 XP that's rolling out this year. Tell us a little bit about what led you to the much larger design and what else has changed with this year's evolution.
If we're not talking about installers, we're not doing our job. So
right.
We're obsessed with how does this actually play out in real life.
What is the EG4 compressor unit or the mini split? How does it work and how does it help people save money and self-consume more of their clean energy?
The smarter way to go solar.
Hi everyone, Joe Ordia here for Solar Surge, and today we're coming to you from RE+, the International Solar Conference here in Anaheim. And this morning I'm joined by James Showalter, CEO and founder of EG4, and we're going to be looking at the EG4 product lineup for 2024. So James, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Absolutely, Joe. Thank you for having us.
All right. Well, listen, I know many of you out there have been asking us why have we not been covering the EG4 battery products, the inverter products, and a lot of the reason, frankly, folks, is because EG4 I think got a lot of popularity initially in the off-grid and the do-it-yourself solar community, but now is becoming more mainstream and working with solar EPCs, more high-volume installers, and so that's part of what we're going to be covering today is what new technology, what new products they've come to market with that are being used not only by off-grid and do-it-yourself people, but also have been adopted by mainstream solar installers as well, and looking to do more grid interactive hybrid systems as well as just off-grid systems. So James, I guess with that, why don't you just kind of take it from the top. What is EG4 coming to market with this year?
Yeah.
And tell me about your transition from the off-grid community to now wanting to work with more mainstream and higher volume solar EPC companies.
Yeah, and I like with the transition, it's more of just an expansion and really following our customers. Our background, my background was starting a EPC in rural Texas in an area where power costs less than 15 cents and there's no net metering. I mean, power companies are like, if you don't ever get battery systems to make sense for homes like this, there won't be solar out here. And so we ended up trying to support people starting in new unserved areas with Signature Solar. We listened to those people. They had the same problems I had as an EPC. And so we jumped into the ESS business, starting with off-grid. And now we've kind of grown up with some of our customers that have moved into that space of whole home hybrid systems. And we take 6,000 phone calls a week on our distribution wing. So we try to learn what we need to learn to make better products and spend our money right to become the most competitive and the best partner for really your Red County, USA, small town, rural, and suburban battery solutions. That we don't think that the mainstream solutions are as value effective or capable of even winning the sale for these sales agencies.
Okay. Well, I know, a lot of the feedback that we get from the audience is that, EG4 has the most cost competitive battery products on the market, but it also looks like you're coming out with some of the highest power capacity inverter and batteries as well. So why don't you kind of walk us through high level, what are you releasing here with the FlexBoss and the GridBoss, and then we'll take a look at some of the other products as well.
So this is a big shift. Last year we released the 18K PV. A lot of people in the market are familiar with that. The idea of, high power hybrid, clamp a 200 amp transfer switch on it. It's been done before. I think there's several more people releasing those this year. And just going on the job sites, paying attention to where our installers spend money, we felt pretty much immediately that was going to become a legacy approach and really the wrong way to do it. So the FlexBoss and the GridBoss is us succeeding in changing the game on this. So we have an inverter now that does not have a 200 amp transfer switch. So if we open the hood here, there's no 200 amp transfer switch in there. You're just buying a high powered hybrid inverter. And that really helps solidify the value on the job relative to a scaling of a 2 or 3 inverter system. People are buying 200 amp transfer switches several times over. And then the classic system, you would have to buy a 200 amp bypass switch because you need to be able to repair the inverter if something ever went wrong. You'd buy a 200 amp disconnect switch. By the time you were out of it, several of the installers we're talking to with the 200 amp integrated hybrids are saying it costs us $3,000 to hook up plus just for the balance of system. And then we had the problems of not enough ports on the inverter for AC coupling and generator backup. So what we wanted to do was we found that creating a separate unit actually achieves this problem, the balance of system, the real whole installer simplicity problem a lot easier. So to your point, we are now the highest powered 48-volt hybrid inverter on the market that's certified for use in U.S. utilities. The FlexBoss 21 is named for the continuous DC capacity of battery and inverter support at the same time. We can support 24 kilowatts of nameplate PTC rated solar DC. So most all homes will only need one of these to cover their solar panels. 16,000 watts of AC capacity if solar is present. For our battery surge has always been higher than everybody else. 14,000 watts for 10 minutes. Our line balance is over 8,000 watts per line. Now 10,000 watts per line of solar is present. So we have an imbalanced capacity that is even more than 50% of power available per line, which is another thing we've always brought to the market. So the other thing that the FlexBoss can do is start a 5-ton air conditioner without modifying the AC. Our installers are scared of messing with air conditioners, and for a lot less than the cost of a Sure Start, we could just solve the problem on our air conditioner, so we did. Our off-grid guys that are just looking for a 10-year warranty, high quality, high power off-grid inverter don't have to buy the 200 amp switch. So I'm going to use some prices here that are our list prices. Obviously, there's an installer price book that's lower than this. The list price on the original 18 KPV was $4,898. We're now dropping to $4,199 upon release in early November for the FlexBoss. So that's a $700 price cut for a more powerful inverter, and if you're off-gridder, selling you not selling you something you don't need. So that's a big deal for us. The GridBoss is going to have a price tag of $1,749. We think it's well priced among other gateways, but it solves a lot more than just the wiring problems that these inverters, the 200 amp inverters, would cause. We have a 4-load smart port controller, 125 amp, a 80 amp for an EV charger, and 2 60s. So what we find in the smart load business, we have partnerships in smart panels like Lumen, where we can integrate with our app, but most people are only going to need 4 ports. And there's a lot of companies with gateways where they also own a smart panel company, so they never integrated that with the gateway. And if you're an installer, you want to get in, get out, that's built into there. And if there's ever a problem with size capacity and you don't use the smart ports, a lot of times you'll be able to go back to that customer and say, hey, I don't have to do an expensive upgrade if we could just put these 2 heavy loads on a smart port. So it puts you in control as an installer. The other problem was the inverter distance issue. With a 200 amp inverter, you have to feed 200 amp in, come out with 200 amp. So you're pretty much chained to the meter. And this is a problem for people who don't want their batteries right next to the meter. I've had so many people, the meter's a very inconvenient place to put 3 or 4 14 kilowatt hour batteries. The inverter interfaces with the FlexBoss on a single 1-inch conduit, 6'3" wire with a CAN bus cable. So the wiring cost to place the inverter 100 feet away or anywhere you want in the house is completely gone. Then there was the parallel problem that our installers were talking about. If you had a 200 amp service running through this one inverter, Joe, what would happen is if the customer needed a second inverter, then, oh darn, we've got to go and put a 200 amp combiner panel in, a 200 amp combiner panel in on the output side, and a bunch of 100 amp breakers. I mean, $800 of wiring later, plus if your time's free, you can possibly add an inverter.
Yeah, not to mention, it looks like a mess for the homeowner. You got all these extra boxes, extra conduits running back and forth.
It's ugly as heck.
Ugly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is what we're looking at is, if a customer buys one of these FlexBoss inverters, which is the most powerful hybrid on the market, and they want a second one, they can just hang it, run one cable into this GridBoss, and they're in business. They've doubled their inverter capacity. That's a 2 or 3 hour job. Doesn't take practically anything in wiring costs, maybe $20, $30 a wire, and you're done. The bypass switch, if you need to replace an inverter, so easy now. Just hit the bypass switch and you're good. Or disconnect the inverter, repair it, and restart it. So we've got that problem solved. You can replace an inverter without having to have a bypass switch. If your grid company still wants an AC disconnect on the inverter, remember, you're only running 60 amps to 70 amps from the inverter to the gateway. That means you can buy a 100 amp knife switch. Those are exponentially cheaper than 200 amps. They're about $100, $150, depends on where you buy them, right? So we saved you a lot on that. And our whole system still integrates with a separate generator port. We had people who were like, well, but if I have AC couple and I have generators, how am I going to be able to make those two work out? We didn't really have a good solution. Now we do. You can AC couple on the smart ports. You can put a generator on the backup port. That may have been a lot at once, but we put a lot of thought into this, and we brought some of the most experienced solar installers, guys that have been doing off-grid for 40 years, into our design team and really cooked this thing up.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I've heard you say a number of times now is, we heard from our installers, and I think, frankly, one of the challenges to broader adoption of solar and storage is that these products have come out, but they've been so cumbersome to work with that the installers can't do it and make a profit, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of them have kind of shied away from doing storage with solar. I think now we're kind of past that. I think everybody knows now storage is the way it's going.
Yeah.
Whole home consumption, whole home electrification. And the trend that we've been noticing as well over the past 18 months is all of the major system components sort of converging onto a single platform, so everything is interoperable, or at least everything is talking to each other the way it should. Everything is working nicely together, as opposed to piecing together these components from different manufacturers. Now, on that note, can you tell us more about the EG4 battery?
Yes.
I know I've seen in the past a lot of the EG4 rack mount 48-volt batteries.
Yeah.
This is a different offering. If you can kind of walk us through this, and how does it tie in with the rest of the system?
So yes, the wall mount battery that we have is about 86 megawatt hour throughput lifespan on the unit. It's just a direct current only circuit. When you're buying this, we wanted to make you just buy pure kWh. So there's a lot of batteries that have inverters tied into them. We're just a straight out battery that wall mount we released last year. We have an indoor and an outdoor. This is an outdoor heated IP65. We have an indoor version as well. We thought that was super important. A lot of guys are putting in 3-4 battery systems inside. We can cut $300 a battery off the price tag. That's $1,000 back in the EPC or the homeowner's pocket. So standardized design, 16 cell, 10 kilowatt continuous output per battery on the direct current. So when your customer needs more kWh, you're only buying kWh. That's why our retail for 14 kilowatt hours is the lowest in the industry. It's not because we're necessarily doing the same thing for cheaper. It's that we're just doing only what you want. If you need more kWh, you should just buy kWh, right? And that's what these battery modules do. So homeowners are doing the GridBoss, FlexBoss system. That takes care of your inverter and load management aspect. But if your usage goes up and you need an extra battery, we are just a $3,500 retail module, right? And $3,200 on the indoor one. We did think about the installer on this design. I think we have one of these that's open as well. We have a quick connect bus bar. There are no bolted terminals. We found this with the do-it-yourself and beginning community. The number one cause of failure is people not using proper torquing on DC buses. So we took that option away from them. We moved to UL listed quick connects. So we have 250 amp quick connects on a 600 amp bus bar, and we can do up to 5 batteries without needing additional wiring. You don't need to buy anything but our quick connect cables and our Ethernet cables. So if a customer buys 2 batteries and they want a 3rd battery, you're gonna hang a 280 pound module on the wall and use our pre-made conduit box, which saves a tremendous amount of time and money. And you're gonna run the cables right to that battery, and you're out of there. And we have EPCs that are installing wall mount batteries for under $1,000 labor because of this. So it's not just the battery's cheaper, it's simple, it's exactly what you need. There's so many solutions where if you want more storage, now you gotta buy more AC power. And that doesn't work for homes that are over 1,500 kilowatt hours a month and in areas where energy's cheaper and they've got to be able to do self-consumption. So the wall mount battery, $35.99 retail, $32.99 on the indoor one. That's another way to improve your profit margin as an EPC or offer a solution for a homeowner. It's the exact same guts between the 2 different batteries, just not IP65 rated.
Got it.
So
okay,
many
James,
people are going to install these with the indoor wall mounts as well, because a lot of times people just keep their batteries inside.
Got it. So as far as what EPCs might be offering in 2024 and beyond, if you're looking for a full hybrid system, grid interactive, off-grid capable, generator support, automatic load control, this is sort of the solution for that.
If you're going to try to get your sales agency to sell whole home backup, right, real home backup, and you want to hit a lower red line on that, this will do the job. If you're in a place where your energy cost is under 15 cents, I think we're the only thing that really pencils out if you've got to do self-consumption and no net metering. And typically if your home is above 1,500 kilowatt hours, there's a lot of areas where some of the higher volume solutions in the market work great in a coastal urban area, but they don't really work well for suburban homeowners, rural homeowners, and small town people. So that's really our market share that we're going after. It's where we started, it's our DNA. And we think there's 30 million homes that need to go solar and storage that right now sales agencies don't even talk to. So our objective here is not as much to take market share as much as we want to get the solar and storage market back into every county in America with the solution.
Got it. And tell me really quickly about warranties before we move on to the next one. So what kind of coverage can the installer and the homeowner expect from this?
So currently we have a standard 10-year warranty on the units. We are considering some of the longer term extension offerings.
And is that inverter and battery?
Inverter and battery.
Okay.
The battery, the only thing that really, the cell life in the labs are way exceeding what someone's going to do in 10 years. We try, and just following the lifespan and everything. The BMS is replaceable. It's really the only thing that can fail. And it's just a 3-pound board. So we think some customers are going to go, potentially 20 years on the same hardware. If we'll make sure we have the BMSs available at that time, they can open the hood and replace them. And maybe it'll be a better BMS at that point. On the inverter side, we've got a rebuild shop in Texas. We want to be able to support it past the 10-year warranty. If you have a failure in 12, 15 years, you can ship it to us. We'll be able to send you a refurbished unit, potentially an enhanced one. That's what we have in terms of warranty coverage. It's not just kind of some of those guarantees which aren't really financially overseen. EG4 has over 150 staff in EG4 alone. And we have a repair and refurbish bench for really the long-term life cycle of the product. People are going to own these things. They're going to install it today. We kind of think post-warranty as well. It's not going to be a product that's left behind. And, the volume we're at right now, it justifies us keeping solutions that are tailored to people who are buying today. So it won't be a headache in 10 years.
Just a quick word from our sponsor, Generac.
If you're looking for an all-in-one solar and energy management system, then you need to take a look at the new Generac PowerCell 2.
PowerCell 2 gives you total control of your home's energy system, incorporating solar power, whole house backup, intelligent load control, and generator support seamlessly integrated on a single platform. PowerCell 2 uses an AC-coupled architecture to facilitate ease of installation for new systems and retrofitting battery storage to existing solar homes.
So if you'd like to learn more information, then go to the PowerCell website or click the link in the description below so you can get in touch with an installer right away. So James, I know a lot of thought went into the new design to make this easier for installers, make this a cleaner, more efficient installation. Can you walk us through a little bit more about what's the wiring method here? How does all this connect in? And how does your design help installers save time and be more profitable?
Yeah, so this is exactly, I love that we came over here because we designed the product by the single line diagram. How do we keep this simple for all the different problems people have? So as you can see, this is drawn out. The smart ports, the 4 of them, you got a 60, 60, 80, 125. Some people are gonna have that 125 go to a sub panel of shed loads. You can use it for a lot of different things. So we have that on the top. Also, a lot of AC couple. He'll get in 30 kilowatts of AC couple in phase if you want, just right from that combiner panel. So use those whichever way that you want to. We've got that covered. We've got a 2-wire start-stop at the GridBoss actually now. We have the rapid shutdown. I think another point we didn't really make that our system has total rapid shutdown. So we are the first ESS provider that didn't just cut the power at the inverter, but also every breaker on our battery trips if the fireman hits the switch. We were in New York with the New York Fire Department explaining this and some of the enhanced standards that we try to build our products to. They were asking questions about how to keep ESSs safe, and this is one thing that we did. So the rapid shutdown works like a regular rapid shutdown, but it also trips all the battery breakers. You've got new NEC codes that we think are headed that direction. We think we got there ahead of time. The 3 inverters, as you can see, I've got one line, just one conductor per inverter. It goes to an 80 amp circuit. It's obviously running about 70 amps continuous, and you can tap in up to 3. So people could do a house with 60 kilowatts of solar with the GridBoss. The generator down here has a 125 amp dedicated load breaker. The utility meter goes into the grid breaker, which is a Eaton 10 KA 200 amp switch. We have a 200 amp bypass for a non-backed up load panel. So some homes have 2 load panels and people are okay with one not being backed up. Of course, you can always parallel those load panels, but you can have one that's not backed up, and then of course the house comes out of here. This is also CRD PCS. You will not need, if you pay attention to our training on CRD PCS and panel upgrades, you will not need to ever do a panel upgrade with our inverters. That should not be something that you're facing with this system. As you can see, the second FlexBoss will just tie into here, and then of course the batteries have their own DC bus connected, and so they scale with the basic DC modules. The inverters scale on the AC side and tap into the GridBoss. we think this has really made solar and storage as simple as it'll probably get, other than a meter collar solution.
Cool. And I noticed the generator start-stop as well, so that can be controlled by battery state of charge?
Absolutely. You have control of that from the app. Pick how that works, and tie it into your generator, which you can tie right in here.
Great. Well, James, anything else installers need to know about the new FlexBoss solution?
Really, I think it just comes down to if you're an installer that has lost jobs because of energy was too cheap, there's no net metering, and homeowners want real whole house backup, we're somebody who might be able to help you win those jobs. We think we really can. And our growth in the EPC market has been us working with EPCs and turning the no's into yeses by moving to our system.
Okay, James, so I understand that you have one of the most, if not the most popular off-grid inverter in the US with the 6000 XP. Now I noticed you have a 12,000 XP that's rolling out this year. Tell us a little bit about what led you to the much larger design and what else has changed with this year's evolution.
I mean, it's going to sound like a broken record, but it's just listening to customers. I mean, we were paying attention and I think, with our market penetration on the 6000 XP, if you look at these off-grid forums and people ask, hey, post picture of your system, like the 6000 XP picture flood just starts rolling in because that's what people have been using for the last year. And they're always using typically 2 minimum inverters. So our largest market share people that are buying 2 of these 6000 XPs. And some people like the redundancy, but they have to buy a combiner panel and all the input and output breakers. You pretty much are going to spend $300 if you're really smart at a wire store. And then the inverters are about $1,400 retail. So basically to put in a 6,000 watt inverter system, it was going to be about $3,000. And the customer was going to have a little bit of a project to do. So we said, look, we can do what customers do for themselves in a factory. So we built the 12,000 XP. It's a little more powerful than 6,000 XPs. The 6,000 XP is 6,000 watts continuous on the AC side, wind, solar is present. The 12,000 XP actually does 15,000 watts AC. It has enough surge capacity to start a 5-ton air conditioner as well. And it is going to retail for $2,500. So it's going to be at least $500 less and a half a day of projects if you're a beginner that you don't have to deal with and potentially get wrong and worry about phase match. So 100 amp transfer switch. It is UL 1741. So some people can move a lot of their house into basically a UPS. And NEC regulations typically let you downrate down to 100 amps. So we had a lot of people that just want energy independence, don't want to sell battery backup to the grid, and the off-grid community is really substance sensitive. They know when you're giving them the goods. And so the 12,000 XP, we listened to them. We took the standard project of 2 6,000s, we made it 1 unit, and I think we did a little better job on the inverter power, and we did a lot better job on the value, even though we're considered the best value choice in off-grid over the last year of any American-based manufacturer. And the success and reliability rates on the 6000 XP have been incredibly impressive in the market.
Great, great. Well, I know our audience has been asking for this specifically for us to cover these, and I'm glad to really get a deep walkthrough here. Now, tell us about battery compatibility. Is this a nominal 48 volt system, right?
Yeah, nominal 48 volt systems. We work with a range of batteries. We are, I think this quarter we will have 9540 battery integration on the off-grid side. Some of the counties and more regulated states are wanting those. Again, we started in rural Texas. We're not in a place where that was, if the battery had 1973 and 9540A like we've always had on the wall mounts, then there was really no problem with that. But we're trying to make sure we're extreme regulated at this point. And so EG4, you'll have the 9540, but we do talk to other battery providers at this point. And a lot of people have valued that they can use us with other battery brands. And we're willing to support that as well. But a lot of, I think some of the market, when people are changing batteries, they're buying from Chinese companies with no staff in the US, no support, and they end up calling us for support on the unsupported batteries. It's a little hard to support those customers, but if you're talking about you want to pick a Fortress, you want to pick a home grid to work with us, we work great with those people, and we're happy to be the inverter partner for really anybody who's supporting their battery in the US. We try to help the folks that just mailed it in from China. For now, that's the thing until the tariffs go up, but we can work with anybody, and our main thing is to add value to the off-grid community with these 2 units.
Now, for those that want to kind of keep everything on the same platform, I notice again, you've got your EG4 branded battery here.
Yes.
So what are the specs on your battery, and what would you say is probably going to be the most common pairing for those that go with the the 12,000 XP. What do you think is going to be the most common pairing as far as storage to go with it?
So the wall mount batteries are our number one seller. The indoor wall mount is $300 cheaper than the outdoor. So I think almost none of the off-gridders are going to buy an outdoor wall mount. And the reason is because this is an indoor inverter. So it probably would make no sense to buy an outdoor battery for it. So you save the $300. It's the same electrical battery, identical. Everything is the same as the outdoor unit. And so $32.99, we're under $250 a kilowatt hour and with the unit. And I think the 12,000 XP, it will not be able to be powered off of just one battery. So I think the standard off-grid, large off-grids are going to be 2 batteries and one 12,000 XP. A lot of people are doing one 6,000 and one battery for the wall mount. And then our server rack solution are there for people who have experience with upgrading their systems at 5 kilowatt hour intervals. We have those released as well, and these will work well with those too.
Great. So James, a couple of trends that we've been dealing with in the industry here over the last year and a half. One is the loss of one-for-one net metering in many markets, particularly here where we are right now in California. So because of that, people want to use the battery for self-consumption more than they would have in the past. Maybe in the past they were using it for off-grid or for backup purposes.
Right.
Now a lot of these folks want to use the battery for daily self-consumption. Of course, the other trend that we're seeing now because of that, if people are going to be investing in these large solar and storage systems, is they want to be able to take advantage of that electricity for more of their home's energy needs, namely space heating, water heating, things that they would traditionally have to use an alternate fuel source to do. Now they can do that with their own solar energy. So I know that you have some products coming out to help in the home electrification space. I'd like to dive more into that as well. Is there anything else the audience should know about your core off-grid solutions, though, before we move on to the electrification?
I think, talking about this, both units now have AC couple support for UL 1741 SB inverters. So we have people that already have a grid tie system, and they're going to move they'll tie it into an off-grid system and basically run the house as a UPS. They want to integrate their existing solar without a reinstall. They can do that with us now. So the AC couple capacity is something that is really new to your indoor off-grid cost-effective sector that we're able to deliver. So that was announced about a week ago. And we'll have the smart load capability on the 12,000 XP as well. And of course, both of these inverters have generator boost. So if you have a smaller generator than you need to run your house, we can work with that. We can take a 5,000 watt generator, tie it into a 12,000 watt inverter, and use the generator to recharge the batteries without over amperaging the generator. So we have thought through a lot of stuff. It's all on our website, but this stuff is, it's growing for a reason. We've really worked through the stuff that people are looking for.
Great. All right, James, so we're talking about electrification, right? And the idea here is if homeowners are going to make this investment in putting in a large capacity solar and storage system, they want to be able to consume as much of that electricity directly as possible, and it might mean moving some of their home heating or water heating off of fossil fuels and onto renewable energy. So I understand you've got some solutions here in the HVAC space. If you can kind of just walk me through, what is the EG4 compressor unit or the mini split? How does it work, and how does it help people save money and self-consume more of their clean energy?
So we started operating in this area about 3 years ago because we were focused on off-grid, and frankly, the number one thing we really care about if you're trying to get real home backup is that you have an efficient air conditioner. Like, that's a really good way for us to not have to sell you as many batteries, and you pay for it one way or the other. So we moved into this space, worked with some of the most experienced hybrid air conditioner builders in the world, and we also got pre-charged quick connect lines. Actually, ours are pre-vacuum, so we're the only other non-AC technician required install in the market. So we do not have the need to pull a compressor pump or use Freon or anything. It's pre-charged and it's quick connect. So the other thing that we did here with the hybrid units, which have really taken off, we have a 1 ton and a 2 ton unit. The standard efficiency is 22 SEER. They work down to -20 Fahrenheit on the heat pump side. So heating in the winter is one of the biggest surges of expenses that homes are seeing. So we thought the 2 ton unit could be put in the center of a main area and really reduce 60-70% of the bill that a home is seeing on the heat surge in like a December month where they have backup heat strips. And what that turned into, it's a cheap DIY project. People can buy the units and the solar panels for under $3,000 or $4,000 for a $3,000 for a 2-ton unit, and we even have a quick four panel quick mount stand. But that's really taken off of our EPC guys this year, and the reason is because if there are restrictions on solar panel sizes, and appliance connected solar is not grid tied solar. So this is something that when we work with grid companies, we've had questions come up, but we've been able to clear up those questions. And so a lot of EPCs always check with your grid company, and if they're negative, we'll work with that grid company. But they're seeing, here's a way to hook up 2, 3, 4 kilowatts of solar that doesn't really count to my top line, and I can reduce the homeowner's power bill at the same time, which is saving them dollars per month on the bill, which makes my sales proposition look more appealing. You know, really when you're in the kitchen table selling systems, you're trying to say, I can cut the bill and it will only cost you this much. This really helps, and we have people that are ultimately saving on a 2-ton unit. They can cut their heating and cooling $80, $70 a month for cheaper than you can do with a solar system, and it's a way to put solar in where it's just a DC direct connected MPPT that achieves that.
Okay, so let's break that down. For those that are not as familiar with what we're talking about, what we're essentially saying here is you take solar, add more solar to the roof, deliver it right to the compressor unit. I actually see there's MC4,
yeah, there's MC4s there.
Receptacles right here on the unit, so it wouldn't count against an existing net metering agreement, right?
Absolutely.
This would be a direct solar powered air conditioning unit that would allow you to consume that electricity directly without having to deal with the power company at all.
Yeah, and we have guys that don't even use our battery systems using this because of the air conditioner continues to operate in the daytime if there's a power outage. So they get partially backed up air conditioning with a grid tie system if it's installed that way. So, you know, our position in the market is to just make solar more appealing. We think if some EPCs are in areas where they need to hit a value point, sometimes the right thing to do is to up the customer's efficiency and make it part of a solar install.
Interesting. And are you seeing that many solar installers are able to take on the installation of these units as well? I know you said there's no special permits.
It's much easier for us to train them. I think we're in one of the fastest changing times for the market ever. You've got to be ready to change if you're going to succeed. We're seeing so many installers that have to change. It's so much easier for us to train people on this than even on our storage system, which we've ramped up our ability to walk people through that and really be a partner for. But yes, no one's born knowing how to do these, but it's super easy to learn.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we've been seeing as well. You know, we've been traveling around, meeting with a lot of installers, particularly here in California, meeting with a lot of installers. And what I'm seeing is a trend where a lot of the companies that have remained successful in this environment, because frankly, as you know, there have been a number of high-profile failures amongst solar installers, right? So one of the things I've noticed is that the companies that are staying successful, they're staying smaller, regional, but they're also offering a diversity of services besides just solar, whether it's home electrification, HVAC, upgrade your water heater, intelligent load control, install a generator while you're at it, you know, but being able to come to the table with more than just, let me put panels on your roof. I think this is another solution here with, you're saying with minimal training.
Yeah.
You've got another solution they can offer that will help save them money, help become more energy independent, and have a backed up HVAC solution even without having to buy batteries. If
You're exactly right, Joe. That's exactly the way people are looking at it. So thanks for explaining it that way. Yes.
Cool. So rough price points that folks can expect with this?
Yeah, so $12.99 for a 1-ton and $18.99 for a 2-ton. Super cost effective. And then the 1-ton needs 3 to 4 solar panels in the 400 watt range. The 2-ton needs 6 to 8. So we actually have a UPS shippable 4-panel ground mount rack, and a lot of our customers buy those if they're not putting panels on the roof to make it a quick install. One of the things that we want to do at EG4 is get everyone into solar. So we want HVAC companies to start selling this, even if they're not in solar. And we want electrician companies to start offering this. So we're a huge help to EPCs if they're looking for something like this in their strategy. But this could be the first time that an electrician gets into solar because they feel comfortable with this and they know that they can tell the homeowner, I can save you $60, $70, $80 a month.
Sure. Well, again, folks, this is part of the trend that we're seeing. It's not just solar now. It's solar, batteries, intelligent load control, and now evolving to whole home electrification. EG4 has got a number of solutions that are helping with that transition. Well, folks, this has been a walkthrough of the EG4 2024 product lineup. Again, EG4, great reputation in the off-grid and the preparedness community, now coming with more mainstream solutions that can be installed off-grid or grid interactive. And it sounds like they've really done a good job listening to feedback from installers to make sure that these products are not just good on paper, but they can be good in the field. they can deliver a good solution to the homeowner in a way that the installer can actually make a profit on it as well. So.
If we're not talking about installers, we're not doing our job. So
right.
We're obsessed with how does this actually play out in real life. So thank you for walking us through this.
It's been a tough year for solar installers, but some great solutions here, James. Appreciate you walking us through your offerings.
Thank you,
Joe. And folks, that pretty much does it for today's video. As always, if you're getting good value here, make sure you give us a thumbs up. And go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't done so already. That way, as we have new videos coming out from the conference here, you can stay up to date with everything. But that pretty much does it for today's video. Thanks for spending some more time on the channel, and I'll see you on the next video.
All right, I hope you're getting some great value from today's video content. Now, if you would like to have your business or product or technology featured on the Solar Surge channel, we can help you do that. Feel free to use the link below to set up a call with our media team so that we can discuss your marketing goals and how Solar Surge can help you get there. Solar Surge is the leading online community in the U.S. residential solar and energy storage space. And so if you would like to have your business or product or technology introduced to our audience, we can help you do that. Again, feel free to reach out to us on the link below to set up a call with our media team or email media@solarsurge.net.